potential budget surpluses, they're not as good in reality as they are in the annual report. And the same thing with the deficits. They're actually worse than the report emphasizes. And so I think it's important for us to take inflation into account. What this graph tries to show here is that role of inflation over time. That middle line there in gray is our expected budget for the next budget period, 2018-2019. Now, if you compare that to that top line in blue, the top line in blue is what we would expect in terms of available revenues at 1% inflation. The difference there, about $1 billion. So with 1% inflation, we're still firmly in the black. We've got a good, healthy surplus in Minnesota. At 2% inflation, though, that surplus almost disappears. And economists and experts are telling us that we should start to expect more inflation in our economy. Interest rates are likely to go up. Inflation is likely to increase. And so we want to be careful that we don't take too much money out of our general fund. Even though that we're in surplus right now, we don't want to take too much money out of the general fund and devote it to roads and bridges or education or healthcare or tax cuts. We want to make sure that we do leave a healthy surplus there should inflation rear its ugly head again and cut into our purchasing power. So that's important to note, because when you compare those transportation plans, the Senate and the governor are talking about raising new revenue in the form of transportation, gas tax increase. The House is looking at tapping that general fund. And I'll tell you, if we're going to get a deal done, it can't be either or. It's got to be something in the middle, and that's just the reality of the situation. That's I think how you get good bills passed. But I'm hopeful that there's a recognition that we do need to raise some new revenue, because we can't simply look at the general fund for $1 billion every year to devote to transportation. It's just, frankly, it's not there when inflation reappears in years ahead. And so I emphasize that so much today because that was something that was talked a lot about on the campaign trail in 2014. It was talked a lot about this past session, and I expect it will continue to get attention moving into next year. And I hope that we're able to get something done. If we're going to find a deal, that sweet spot again. It's not either or. It's not what the Democrats in the Senate or the governor are proposing. It's not what the Republicans in the House are proposing. It's something in the middle. And I think you rely upon a constitutional tax, gas tax, some general fund surplus dollars, and also bonding to fill in the difference. Interest rates are incredibly low still, and transportation infrastructure is a long-term investment. I think it's fully justifiable to continue to look at bonding for those purposes. I'll emphasize this, though. The Senate and the governor are proposing 40% of all new revenue that would be raised from a gas tax hike would go directly to local governments to fund your priorities. And I don't want to say no strings attached, but basically, it's if you guys got roads or bridges that you have prioritized that you just don't have the funding to advance, this plan would free up some additional resources for you. So I think it's important to focus on that, and I know that really fits into the conversation about local government budgets, because a lot of our local governments are looking to property taxes to pay the difference. I know that we're not giving you guys nearly enough money for your transportation needs, and we want to have a comprehensive transportation package that allows you to advance that backlog of worthy projects. And so I'm optimistic. Hopefully we can get something done on transportation in 2016. Again, the tax bill would be a very good bill for us next year as well. And then it's a bonding year next year, so I would expect that we're going to be investing in projects of regional significance. It's probably going to be a big share for the University of Minnesota and also for its physical plant, the state colleges and universities around the state, and likely for transportation as well, if we were to get a nice big bonding bill passed. In terms of the things that we got done this year in 2015, okay, we were fiscally responsible. I think that's key. We're also able to pass a pretty good education funding bill. $500 million over base for our schools. That's 2% in each of the next 2 years on the funding formula. Talk to your superintendent, they'll tell you, that barely keeps up with inflation, but it's better than the last decade. And so we're trying to help our schools. So many of them have spent their budget reserves down in weathering these tough times. We want to help them get back on their feet. So 2% in each of the next 2 years. And we're also able to devote some targeted resources for facility funding. Whether it's aging infrastructure, you might have a roof you got to repair, or a boiler you have to replace. A lot of our rural districts are in a difficult position with their aging infrastructure, and that's something that the Senate pushed hard for this year, because we know our rural districts would benefit disproportionately to a focus on facilities and deferred maintenance. And so that's an aspect of our education bill this year. Another thing I should mention is just our investment in rural nursing homes. A lot of our rural communities are struggling to make investments in their nursing homes and to keep skilled staff in our smaller communities. And so we have about $150 million devoted to rural nursing homes, just to help keep doors open in some cases, again, to help put a new roof on where it's needed, and also to make sure that hardworking staff are paid the level that's going to keep them in the industry and keep them in their jobs. So I think that was overdue, and that's something that we're able to accomplish this year. I'll just leave off with one thing that I've focused a little of my attention on in the legislation. This is the idea of high-speed internet access. We've had 2 governor's task forces over the last 10 years on this. Governor Plenty had one. Governor Dayton has one currently. They made some great recommendations, but not a whole lot was done legislatively. And as we look to the lack of connectivity around rural Minnesota, 25% of households in some cases lack high-speed internet access. You know, we said, we got to do something about this. So we started our border-to-border broadband fund, and this summer and into the fall, we're going to be connecting 6,000 homes around Minnesota, hundreds of businesses, and scores of community anchor institutions like libraries or schools or hospitals with high-speed internet. And I know in this area we're kind of on a service territory boundary, so service may be good in some parts and not so great in others. And this is the sort of effort that we're trying to replicate, similar to the rural electrification effort a century ago, or extending telephone lines to rural areas. We want to make sure that every household in Minnesota has access to high-speed internet. I think it plays really well off of some opportunities economically in Rochester with the Destination Medical Center, and also for folks who might want to start a home-based business, might be teleworking, either to Rochester up to the Twin Cities, and also distance learning, telehealth, those sorts of applications. Precision agriculture is another big deal that leverages high-speed internet. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't want to filibuster your meeting. The sun was still shining when I came in here. I'm not sure if it's going to be when you guys leave, but I just wanted to go over some highlights here. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to stand for them tonight, so thank you. Otherwise, I should mention my contact information at the top here, folks. Just because session's over doesn't mean we're not working hard. Getting around talking to local governments and constituents right now, and also we'll be starting to put legislation together this fall for next year. So,
did you know I've got your email?
Stay in touch. That's right. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you and I stay in close contact during the session. So, always happy to do that. Yeah,
Senator, I do have one question on just giving on your bipartisan transportation.
Sure.
A dedicated user fee for roads and bridges. Can you define that a little bit? Is that more like you're talking about a toll?
Well, actually, the gas tax is essentially a dedicated user fee. You don't pay it unless you're using gas, and so that's another way of describing the gas tax. And it is constitutionally dedicated. It's in the state constitution. The proceeds from the gas tax go directly to roads and bridges, with a little bit reserved for enforcement and spent on the state patrol. And so that's what I mean by that.
Okay.
And so I think, again, on the transportation piece, you got some ideas kind of both ends of the spectrum here. We got to get away from the party line and meet in the middle, and that's how you get a deal done. And I'm optimistic that we'll be able to do that, but you guys have been around the block. You know what it can be like up in St. Paul. So, but I'm optimistic. All right. And sir was next to that Zipro meeting the other day, so we'll stay tuned into that and make sure we get good answers to our questions. And it's a fully transparent process moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, I don't want to filibuster this thing. So if there aren't any other questions, drop a line anytime you like. Otherwise, appreciate the chance to stop by tonight. So thank you. All right, good luck with that fire station. All right. Take care, guys. See you later.
Our hands are out.
Oh, I should mention that. We do have we have a surplus next year. We're hoping to have a healthy investment in local government aid next year. And I know that's the sort of thing that can help a community like this with a project like that. And I should just emphasize, we're at 2002 levels of funding for local government aid. We had a last decade in Minnesota in which previous legislatures did not keep up with inflation in terms of investment in LGA. So I'm hoping next year's going to be a good year for LGA. I know the House and the Senate might not be on the same page on that one, but we'll keep talking about it because I think it's important. All right, I promise I'll put you out. All right, thanks a lot, guys. See ya. Big break coming up.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we can move on to legal. Fire hall purchase resolution. Anything more that needs to be said on this?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the resolution that you have before you is to split the Goldcraft property into 2 parcels so that the city can purchase the one parcel and the other parcel will be retained by the Goldcraft company. This is needed before we can close on the property and file the deed with the county.
Now, this would need a roll call, right?
No.
Well, in that case, I'll move that we approve resolution 2015-11, approving minor subdivision of property in the city of Kenyon.
Second that.
in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We move forward. Updated policies for Kenyon Police Department. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. What we did is we looked at our policies, the mandated ones that are set by the post board, and we were pretty close to what they had, but I wanted to make everything clear across the board, so we wanted just to update them and follow the state mandated policies to the letter. So that's what we've done.
Now, what we have here in our packet, this is the updated,
Those would be updates. I don't know if you have the updated policies per se, there's.
because well, most of it seemed to, but there were a couple of, of course now I've forgotten exactly what they were, but there were a couple of things that I didn't seem to quite track from this summary of the changes to
We just went through the model policies that the post board had, brought them to the council, and basically we're gonna, where it says, enter the name of the police department, we will put the Kenyon Police Department.
okay. I've forgotten exactly what that point was. There was one little thing I noticed there this afternoon, but,
Reading through these, it looks like you have a pretty tough job. You have to remember all of those policies and,
I cheat and I know where they are on my desk, so if I right away I can find it. I've got a pretty good knowledge of the overlay of it, but there are some finer points I like to keep on top of, and this is one of them. I just wanted to be up to date with the post board recommended, so. I contacted them with what we had before, and they said we would probably be okay, but I thought, just to be transparent and clear, I just wanted to do their updated policies.
really liked all those principles, principle 4, principle
Yeah.
5.
There's a lot of
On
them.
and on and on.
so, we need a motion to adopt these policies as they are written. I will move that we adopt the policies.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go. So, we would move on then to 10, old business, municipal liquor store patio.
So you have a list in my memo of the updated estimates for the door, for basically the costs, the physical cost of the patio and the materials. The total cost is $10,401. So there's a breakdown there. I don't know if there's any questions on those numbers. One thing that I think is good is we were able to get a good price from Metal Transformations in Kenyon, and we like to buy local whenever we can, which most of all these are, except for the security. But it was kind of nice to see that fence price. Milty got that price, and he really did a lot of work trying to get these estimates put together, so I really appreciate that. But anyway, that's where that numbers stand, and the donation again was $3,500.
Doesn't specify here how tall the fence is.
The fence will be 7 feet.
Okay. That's what we were,
It's 6 feet, then a foot off the ground, so it's 7 feet high, if I understand right.
Yeah, that's not
right,
correct.
7 feet,
7 feet.
7 feet from ground.
Yeah, that's
Similar
right.
to what we required over here for Schweitz is we can't really hold a private business to a higher standard than we do. It's not fair at all. Well, I still have grave doubts whether this is going to increase the business enough to ever pay for itself. Looking at looking at the year-to-date financials, we're running about a 4% profit margin, which means, okay, we've got a $3,500 donation, so that brings our out-of-pocket down to $6,900. That'd be, with 4% profit margin, that'd translate into $172,000 in additional gross sales.
In 1 year.
Well, whether it's spread over 1 year or others, but 172,000 in additional sales. I have my doubts, but there's no way to prove it one way or the other. You can't do a double-blind experiment to see whether it works with it or doesn't.
And this would have to be, I mean, this is a capitalized asset that would be, you know, more than 1 year, 10, 15 years. I mean, so I mean, I think you'd have to spread whatever that cost is over a
Right.
period of, you know, say 10
You
years.
depreciate it over.
It could be depreciated.
Yeah, depreciate, that's what I'm referring to. So,
Well, I personally think that sometimes we gotta move ahead with time, even though that the question if it's gonna get moved, but I do feel that we have to move ahead and go with times, and times are patios. Right now.
I've not heard one negative comment on it. I don't know, just talking to Milky and stuff, he was talking about some motorcycle groups, and they actually called to see if we have patios. So,
I know if you go to Rochester or the Twin Cities, you can't walk down the street without running into a patio. And in Rochester, some of them don't even have fences. They're just right out in the middle of the street, like by Newt's. There's an area where they just put tables out there. There's no fence or anything. When you get in the cities, if they don't have a patio, they build something on the roof. Which this is preferable to the roof.
It's hard to fall off of the ground and hurt yourself.
I think it'd be a nice addition to just coming to the stop sign in Kenyon here. I'm looking over there, and hopefully we can get the side of the building improved over next year or the year after, something we've talked about for a long time, like the patio. So I'll make it a motion that we go ahead.
I'll second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Covered everyone? Well, we move on. Let's see what we end up with. I'm just glad that we got the higher fence than the original design and the security camera, which I think is very important for several reasons.
And we're going with local,
And we're going with local, yes.
and that's,
Everything except the security camera is, and then we get, there's where you get a little extra, I hate that phrase, return on investment. I like that better than bang for your buck. You get the multiplier effect of spending money locally that in turn is spent on other businesses and moves around and helps everyone. Training area paving.
we received an email from Bigelow today, and not that I like to be self-deprecating and point out typographical errors, but in the memo, this is what we call spell correction, I guess, but where it says bylaw, it's supposed to be Bigelow. And then earlier, just for the record, also that part about, we talked about the paving there was a whole half a paragraph there that got deleted. When I was going back and spell checking it, I highlighted some of it, and I was reading it again today, and half of that paragraph was gone. But anyway, I think you can kind of see here that this is a signed quote from Joel Bigelow, and he says August 6th he paid 1/2 to BMI. So anyway, that was encouraging to see that. So it looks like everything is in place for them to go ahead. And get that started. And BMI had indicated they would do it probably on or before the 1st of September, but again, with the possible work here for the city, maybe that will, push that up. I don't know, but I think it'll just be a godsend if we can see that get finished up after how many years that's been sitting there, so,
Good job.
Yeah.
thanks.
I know at least one family that will be overjoyed that I do too.
Well, I'll believe, the old saying goes, when it's done, that's when I'll be, I think, relieved about this whole situation, but, yeah, we really have.
Alignment shops may not be real happy, but residents will be.
So that's just information.
Well, that's great information to get.
Yes, no, this is good.
We've been having a
Absolutely.
real nice trend the last few months of things that have been ongoing problems, in some cases for years, that are finally falling into place and getting done.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that some of these items really do take a lot of time, a lot more than, we want to see, but unfortunately, this is just how things work. You'd like to say that more things can't be done faster, but some of these items, and this item was a real kind of an unusual situation when you have a subdivision that doesn't have all the streets completed, and normally you have a performance bond, and you have a development agreement, but they're expired by 5 years, so you don't have that very easily to fall back on, and so it made it a real challenge to really put them, to push them to do it. But if it gets done here, this will be really nice because it didn't really cost, it took another maybe a year longer than I had hoped, but we didn't have to, go to court, not necessarily we would have. And, I think it just goes to show that if we, try to work with them, that we can get results. So.
It is rather curious though, how so many things seem to be all falling into place like a row of dominoes tipping over.
It's amazing.
They don't have any connection to each other, but they fall into place at the same time. Swimming pool. What are the issues?
As you probably already aware, the pool has gone through 2 cycles of water clarity issues, and we tried multiple chemical treatments for algae and metals, alkaline, etc. And the first time that this popped up, which would have been, I guess, mid-July, and we started treating it, we were able to knock it down and get the water cleared up, and it seemed like it was good for a couple of weeks. Then it came back, and we did a couple more treatments, and we worked closely with a couple of companies, pool companies that work with large, institutional pools, hotels, other cities, etc. And they came out and looked at it, and they gave us some very good feedback and ideas, and we tried some different things. And finally, what it came down to, we think now, is we had to replace the main pump, and at a cost of about $6,500, and that was just put in today. And one thing I will say, that water is moving like they've never seen for a long, long time.
Some did need replacing,
Yeah,
right?
it
That
did.
was the entire problem, or not?
Well, we'll see, only time's gonna tell, but hopefully by that water, more than, I suppose, double now the flow, or maybe more, that's gonna really help clear
It's
things
pushing
up.
them through the filter faster, which
Yeah, and we have,
should
yes,
make a
that's a good
difference.
sign.
And the filter's just been redone,
Yeah, the
Should
filter's
be
filling up and it's gotta be
efficiently.
cleaned almost every day, so something's going on there, so. But this, again, this is just information, I wanted to keep the council up on this. And the pool was partially open today, and hopefully within the next, if it does clear up within a few days, we'll get it open again. The kiddie pool area, you know, children's pool's open, and they were doing swimming lessons in there today, but we generally didn't have it open for, you know, general swimming.
My grandsons were down there taking their tests today, and I was really surprised when they told me that this was going on. Got the pool open and got that pump in already, I'm shocked.
Well, it's good, we really wanted to get those lessons wrapped up, because that's the last,
Right.
you know, the last session of them, so at least we got those in. And then along the same lines, painting, Olympic Pool, which is one of the companies we work with pretty closely, they did tell me they will keep their quote certainly through the fall. They recommended now that we wait until spring. With all this stuff going on with the but with the water clarity issues, they kind of recommend we should hold out till spring. And they told me that in the spring they would honor their price within 1 to 2%. So I think that's, you know, good. And the other company, we, you know, used them to do the shower building, and we felt the flooring materials they did were good, but just the whole scheduling, clean up the whole 9 yards of working with them, we weren't really excited about that. So we would definitely want to use, I think, Olympic to do the actual pool painting itself. They seem to just be a lot more, you know, easier to work with scheduling wise. You know, they stick to their schedules, and I think they're a lot more professional. So.
But of course, the next question is painting all that the pool is going to require?
Well, see, that's right. The other part of this is we are going to have the pool tested, have a company come out and do sonar testing, because we have the amount of water loss seems to have increased this year. We're losing probably about 2 inches a day right now, and so we're going to have, once the pool closes, before we lower the water level for the winter, we're going to have a company come out and do testing to see if they can figure where it's losing water, and that's going to be, I mean, interesting to see where that.
Of course, part of that water loss, like I pointed out earlier, would be evaporation with the hot, dry weather we've had.
Yeah, and this is pretty common with the pool this age. I mean, it's very common that you'll see these leaks, and I just hope that it's not underneath the bottom of it, but that's what they're going to find out.
So one more reason why the painting should not proceed this year.
And then we'll report back with what they find, and what they figure. Hopefully we'll get some cost estimates on what it's going to cost to fix it.
Everything needs maintenance. Okay, new business. Depot Park liquor requests. And we can approve both of those in one motion, correct?
Yep.
Also moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Street closure for block party on August 16th. Lisa Johnson. Seeking council approval to close Washington and State Streets from 7th to 8th Street on Sunday, August 16th, from noon to 3 p.m. Police chief has reviewed the request and does not see any problems that would be caused by the street closing. That's quite an out-of-the-way corner of town.
This requires council approval.
Yes. I move we approve that.
Okay, we'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve hiring of Steve Meduna, is that the way you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
bartender clerk at the liquor store.
Is that a
Okay.
full-time or what?
No, it's part-time.
Part-time.
Everybody's part-time except the manager.
And so
So
we,
motion again to,
he'll be, on duty for the Rose Fest presumably.
yeah, I think that's what I understand.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, we are rolling right along.
So this is, again, information, and Senator Schmidt may have referred to this, but all the cities, I understand, that don't receive MSA, which is municipal state aid, any city over 5,000 receives a certain, has historically received state aid for their highways. And cities under 5,000 don't get that, so for the first time ever, cities were given state highway aid, and basically for us, it's approximately $25,000 we're paid twice, you know, probably similar to the local government aid, we're paid that over, you know, in 2 phases, so it's approximately $12,500 in May, and then $12,500, November, December time period. But we appreciate it, and the money's gotta be used for road and highway expenses or for new construction or whatever, but in our case, it'd be used for maintenance. So it's good because you look at some of these, you know, paving projects, seal coating and those kind of things, and that's, you know, a good chunk of one of those line items on an annual basis, it's like 50%, so I mean, it's definitely helpful.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point that out, because that is a new state aid that cities are getting starting in
Well, that's
2020.
wonderful. We certainly have a place to use it.
Yeah.
So this starts next year, it starts?
No, it started this year. We received our first half.
Because that'll pay for half the BMI.
It will. That is correct. And that, we didn't anticipate that in the budget, so I mean, it's one of those rare times I can say we have extra revenue coming in from the state. 2016 budget process, we've started working on the 2016 budget. The department heads are currently reviewing their draft budgets. Next week, Sue and I will start meeting with each department head to review their budget. Our goal is to have the department head have our staff level meetings completed by August 25th. I would like to schedule a council work session to review what I would call the first draft of the budget, maybe the budget overview, and also, and this is more important because of state deadlines, is the levy. We have to have, cities have to have the maximum levy certified, approved by basically at the end of September, but in our case, I would say by the September council meeting. What this means is, as an overview, cities have to have, they set a maximum budget amount or maximum levy amount that we levy and then we have to submit that to the county, which then goes to the state. When that's set, then city cannot raise that any higher, it can be lowered. And then in December, the city has to set a final levy and a final budget, which again is submitted to the state. And that process then, during that process between September and December, the levy amount can be lowered, but it can't be raised any more than the high amount. Now, the difficult part with the budget always is we kind of have to come up with a maximum levy, and every taxing jurisdiction faces this problem, whether it's school districts, counties, or cities. And we have to have a project best we can the highest amount of levy that we think we'll need. And then during the next couple months, we work on the budget. And then by December, we'll have that final, the council will have to approve a final budget and a final levy. So during that special meeting, we'll kind of walk through this in more detail, and we'll have some different suggested or recommended scenarios as far as budget increases go, levy increases go, I should say. And this year we'll have what I think will be kind of the first, kind of like we have with the fire hall. We'll say this is what department heads have told us they'd like to see. We'll have all that by department, and then we'll have it totaled so we can see what their, what the, I call it the high end, or the first budget will be. And then from there, we kind of work back, and subsequently, the council will meet with the department heads, and we'll walk through the budget and, work through the budget in greater detail. So there will be probably 2 more work sessions after that where, you'll meet with department heads, and then we'll lay the whole budget out. But the first meeting really will focus on the levy. And so I wanted to just talk about this now to kind of get, so you can kind of start, understanding or thinking about how the budget process will work. And I know we have 2 new council members that haven't gone through this in the past. So.
Is that maximum levy which shows on your proposed property taxes for the next year that comes out?
Yeah, the maximum levy will, right, there has to be a truth and taxation meeting.
So that's, yeah, like
Used
all
to
the
be a hearing, and so the county will send out notices.
Yep.
And notices will show the county, city, and school district, and what each one of their, what their maximum levy would be. And then from there, we kind of work back, and then usually, like, say we start at last year, 5%, and then we finished maybe a 2.5% increase for the levy.
Mark, have you heard any rumors or anything about commissioners, Goodyear County, are talking, I can't remember either, they want to freeze the levy, I believe freeze it at a certain point.
The county levy.
Yes.
That's nothing new. They've talked about that for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
They've done it some years they haven't.
Okay.
But they've always kept their increases, very minimal.
Well, mainly what I was wondering if that's going to have, well, it will have an effect, but for us going forward, we don't know for sure what they're going to do. That's the thing.
And
No.
that's on each of us as individual taxpayers, but not on the city budget.
As far as what the city
budget.
does, it's not really, or the school district, it's not really a big impact.
Okay.
But
No.
we try to keep the increases, minimal, as low as we can.
And then at this same meeting on August 31st, September 1st, we'd also be readdressing the scope of that
Yeah.
first
First Street project, correct.
Can we set a date and time for that meeting now while we're all here?
That's why I brought it up, is what I'm hoping that we can set a date for.
Um,
My preference would be Monday, but I mean, Tuesday would also be, I can also do, I'll be leaving out of town Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so
Would this be a special meeting or just a work session?
it'll be both.
Okay.
The first Monday, isn't there a planning commission on the first Monday?
Yeah, if we have something to meet about, there normally would be, and we'll, at this point, there isn't anything we have.
Well, I'm open to either day. Anytime after 5 a.m. and before 10 p.m., I'm good to go.
Okay, so Monday, the 31st at like 5:30, is that work with everybody?
Sounds good.
Joe, are you?
Yeah.
What time was that?
5:30?
5:30 p.m.
I thought you said AM.
No, that's mayor or something.
Anytime between.
Yes.
It gets up early.
So, council representative appointment to the Six Rail Task Force. I presume Doug is volunteering for that.
Yes, I will. And what that really means is it's just getting a view from what the rest of the citizens in the area want. There is no voting, nothing of that sort. It's just mainly comments from the rest that is fed back to this group. What it involves, I don't really know, but the only 3 that have not signed is Kenyon, Near Strand, Dennis.
That I was told. That was the last meeting.
So not to sign what?
To get onto this.
Oh, okay.
For review purpose of it, you know, you'll.
Well, I move we appoint Doug Hankey to, or Henke rather, excuse me.
Is that okay?
Be a council representative on the Zip Rail Task Force.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I will also move that we appoint John Mortensen to take Doug's place as council representative on the Park and Recreation Committee.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go, you got another new job. Who said you were gonna retire and take it easy?
Currently unemployed.
Only gainfully unemployed. The schedule of upcoming meetings, regular city council meeting Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. and our special budget and street project scoping meeting or work session or whatever it's being designated as on August 31st, 5:30. Council staff general comments.
Yeah, Chief Lee, I believe you've got something up here I'd really like. This is something that, you know how bad the police officers and everybody get bad mouth and then, Lee, would you like to come up and read these? I see them right here.
No, I'm good.
Well, okay, why don't you just come up and read them, because it really comes back to the Kenyon Police Department and the officers as well.
Sure.
Hey, these come from South Australia. There's various ones in here. This is what he got sent.
I'll read this one with the big print, because that'll be easy for me to see with my old eyes.
Oh, yeah, not that one.
This one came with some treats to our office from a lovely family in town. Chief, you are great, thank you all, and then love Adrian and Kyler. They give us all of our officers a lot of treats. For those of you that don't know, we have a very large Facebook following, so we always get goodies. We had a young gal who had her bicycle stolen, so I wrote about it on the Facebook page. Hopefully someone would turn up the bicycle, but nobody did, so we had donations, we bought her a new bike. So a gentleman bought it, mailed it to us, I took it to the house, and the family put it together. They wrote a very nice thank you on Facebook, so one of these is money for that. Actually, both of these are letters. Just well wishes, thank you for all you do. This one is really kind of interesting. This one came from South Australia. It's a postcard. Dear Lee and crew, keep up the good work. Love keeping up with your wisdom and stories. Thinking of you as a great leader. Regards, Sarah Shearer, one of your many Facebook followers, dedicated South Australian. So I always like to bring these in. So like Doug said, we do tend to get a bad rap from time to time, and sometimes we do deserve it. I will say that. But we have really good people in town and in the area, and I'm really blessed. So there you go. Thank you.
Didn't even blush.
Oh,
Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
And John, welcome aboard. Ditto.
Thank you.
Just remember where your life jacket is, jump overboard.
Blackjack or what?
Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll second that one.
Oh, I was asking for it, but, okay, it's good enough. All in favor?
Aye. Yeah. Save,
Yeah, let's see.
save those and then file. Usually I just wait.